In the huge and varied land of South America, stretching from the warmer areas down to the super cold southern seas, there's a country with amazing landscapes and a really interesting story. This country is Argentina, officially called the Argentine Republic. The reason it got its name comes from a shiny promise, a dream of riches that amazed the first European explorers. The name Argentina comes from the Latin word for silver, argentum. These early adventurers sailed through the wide river mouth of the Rio de la Plata, the River of Silver. They heard stories from native people about a legendary Sierra de la Plata, a mountain range said to hold precious metal. Even though that silver mountain was never found, the name stuck, grafting a hope for good times into the country's identity. Argentina covers much of South America's southern tip, a very large country. It's the 8th largest country in the world by land area, a huge space with many climates and landscapes. In the far north, near Bolivia and Paraguay, the land has hot, wet plains, warm forests. Further south are the Pampas, vast, fertile grasslands for farming and cattle. To the west rise the mighty Andes, forming the border with Chile and showing some of the tallest peaks in the Americas. To the east lies a long coastline on the South Atlantic, busy ports linking Argentina to the world for centuries. In the middle, by the Rio de la Plata, sits the sprawling capital, Buenos Aires. It's not just the political and economic center, it's a cultural hub. European architecture meets a distinct Latin American spirit. Buenos Aires is home to millions, streets where history is visible on every corner, and a city often moving to the passionate beat of tango. The city's rise is tied to its port past, a doorway for immigrants, for goods, for ideas, shaping the diverse modern Argentine society. Long before the first European ships showed up, the lands that would one day be Argentina were home to many different native peoples. These weren't just one group, but a mix of different cultures, each with its own language, ways of doing things, and a way of life that fit the specific place they lived. In the northwest, in the mountain areas that are now the province of Salta, Jujuy, lived groups like the Diaguita. They were advanced farmers who built clever terraces and watering systems, corn, potatoes, quinoa, pottery, metalwork, well-organized, protected towns. Further east, in the rich, warm forests of the northeast, the Guarani people did very well. They were mostly farmers who used a method of cutting and burning plants to clear land for farming: manioc, sweet potatoes, yerba mate. The yerba mate leaves are still used today to make Argentina's national drink. The Guarani lived in big shared houses and had a rich, spiritual life. Their language has had a lasting effect on the area. In the huge southern plains of Patagonia and the Pampas, groups that moved around, like the Tehuelche, Mapuche, roamed the wide land. Originally hunters and gatherers, their way of life changed a lot when the Spanish brought horses. They quickly became expert horse riders, which let them hunt guanaco, rhea more effectively over bigger distances. The Mapuche, who moved from what is now Chile, became very strong in the southern lands, fiercely protecting their land and their culture against outsiders for hundreds of years. Their societies were set up around family lines, and they had a strong warrior tradition along with a deep spiritual respect for nature. These first peoples had rich and complex cultures that had been growing for thousands of years. Their lives were full of detailed social rules, deep spiritual beliefs, and a strong practical knowledge of their surroundings. They created art, music, and spoken stories that passed down their traditions and understanding of the world from one generation to the next. They knew how to use native plants for medicine, how to read the stars to guide their travels, and how to live in balance with the sometimes harsh, sometimes plentiful lands they called home. The arrival of Europeans would completely change their world, but their presence remains a basic and very important part of Argentina's identity and history. Right. The year 1516 was a big turning point. Juan Díaz de Solís sailed into the wide, muddy mouth of the Rio de la Plata. This first meeting marked the start of Spanish colonial rule, a change to the social, cultural, political life of the land. Driven by the search for riches, especially the silver rumored inside the country, and the wish to expand the Spanish king's power, later trips tried to set up a permanent base. The first attempts were brutal. Buenos Aires was first settled in 1536 by Pedro de Mendoza, but abandoned after only a few years due to starvation and constant fights with the local Carandí. Spain did not give up. In 1580, a more lasting settlement of Buenos Aires was founded, this time from Asunción upriver, in what is now Paraguay. The Spanish brought many things new to the Americas: horses, cattle, sheep, wheat. They also brought their language, Roman Catholic religion, and their systems of laws and government. Churches were built, missions were established, often aiming to convert native people. This was far from peaceful. Europeans also brought deadly diseases like smallpox, measles, which devastated native populations. Life during nearly 300 years of colonial rule was strict. Argentina was part of the distant viceroyalty of Peru, governed from Lima. All official trade had to go through Lima and be shipped overland, a slow, costly route that encouraged illegal trade through Buenos Aires. The economy relied mostly on farming, often using forced native labor under the encomienda, which put settlers in control of native communities. Over time, large estancias rose on the pampas, where vast herds of cattle roamed. A new colonial society emerged: criollos at the top, mestizos, enslaved Africans, and Buenos Aires grew in importance. In 1776, Spain created the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata and made Buenos Aires its capital. As the 1700s turned into the 1800s, big changes swept the Spanish colonies in the Americas, inspired by the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and by Spain's weakening during the Napoleonic Wars. A strong desire for self-rule grew among the Spanish-born elite in Buenos Aires. They resented political and economic rules that favored Spaniards born in Spain. The first big step came on May 25, 1810, the May Revolution. Years of fighting followed, led by José de San Martín and by Manuel Belgrano. On July 9, 1816, the Congress of Tucumán declared independence. But independence didn't bring immediate peace. The next decades saw brutal civil wars and political rifts. Unitarians in Buenos Aires wanted a strong, centralized state. Federalists defended provincial autonomy. Powerful provincial caudillos often ruled like monarchs. It was a violent struggle to forge a unified nation. By the late 1800s, national organization took hold. The Constitution of 1853 was adopted, largely still in use today. Political stability opened the door to huge economic growth. The Pampas became vast farms and cattle ranches. The frigorifico, refrigerated shipping, let Argentine beef reach Europe. Argentina also became a major wheat and grain exporter. Massive foreign investment, mainly from Great Britain, built railways across the Pampas, linking the interior to Buenos Aires' port. Between the late 1800s and early 1900s, millions arrived, mostly from Italy and Spain. They built the cities, worked fields, and reshaped culture. Buenos Aires blossomed: grand boulevards, theaters, elegant buildings, earning the nickname the Paris of South America. The golden age of good times started to show problems as Argentina entered the 1900s. The Great Depression hit in the 1930s. Farm exports collapsed. Economic crisis worsened social and political problems, sparking long instability. 1930, a military takeover overthrew the elected government, the infamous decade. Fake elections, corruption, a growing disconnect between leaders and the people. The military became a recurring political power. Enter Juan Domingo Perón, an army colonel turned Secretary of Labor. He built support fighting for city workers, the descamisados, shirtless ones. He was elected president in 1946. Reforms, paid holidays, retirement pay, stronger unions. Evita, beloved by the poor, active through charity. Peronism inspired fierce loyalty and fierce opposition. 1955, Perón overthrown. Cycle of weak civilians and military interventions begins. The Peronist Party was banned. Democracy weakened. The economy suffered. Rising prices and instability. Late 1960s, early 1970s, political violence rises. left-wing rebel groups, right-wing armed groups. The country slid toward low-level civil war. 1976, the military took power again, promising order. The Dirty War began under the national reorganization process. Security forces systematically kidnapped, tortured, killed. Victims, students, intellectuals and thinkers, union members, journalists. They became the desaparecidos, the disappeared. The brutal dictatorship lasted until 1983, leaving deep scars. After defeat in the 1982 Falklands War, the regime collapsed and democracy returned. Argentina is a lively and complex democratic country, home to about 45 million people. The culture is a rich mix made from many different parts. Huge European influence, Italian, Spanish. Visible in language, buildings, food, social customs, blended with lasting traditions of native peoples and other immigrant groups, together creating a uniquely Argentine culture. The nation's spirit, passion, flair for drama, deep national pride, most visible in the country's love for soccer. Argentina gifted the world the tango, born in working-class port areas of Buenos Aires and Montevideo in the late 1800s. Tango is more than a dance or music, an expression of the city's soul, a sad, passionate art form that speaks of love, loss, longing. Food plays a central role in daily life. Asado, traditional barbecue with grilled meats, focus on beef. Asado brings families and friends together. Mate, herbal drink sipped from a gourd through a metal straw. Mate is a constant companion and a symbol of friendship and community. The economy is as varied as the geography, but still relies heavily on farming. The rich pampas make Argentina a top producer of soybeans, corn, wheat, and high-quality beef. Wine industry in Mendoza, foothills of the Andes, famed Malbec. Beyond farming, natural resources like oil, natural gas, and the Vaca Muerta shale. Industrial and service sectors centered in Buenos Aires and big cities. Tourism has grown into an important source of income. Visitors flock to Iguazu Falls, Perito Moreno Glacier, Buenos Aires' elegance, Andean Northwest's rugged beauty, wildlife-rich coastlines, varied experiences for travelers. Despite strengths, the economy faces ongoing problems: high inflation, heavy national debt, economic ups and downs. Different governments struggle to build stable, long-term growth for all citizens. The story of Argentina is a powerful tale of big highs and deep lows, a journey of huge promise, painful conflict, and amazing strength. It started as a land of different native cultures, each tied to their environment. The Spanish arrived, bringing a new language, a new religion, a new social order, and a long colonial rule. Independence in the early 1800s won self-rule but triggered decades of internal fighting. Eventually, the nation came together and entered a period of huge growth, becoming an economic powerhouse and magnet for immigrants. That golden era proved fragile. The 1900s brought economic crises and deep political divides, personified by the rise of Peronism. Later decades spiraled through instability, ending with the 1976-1983 military dictatorship. The Dirty War left thousands desaparecidos, a permanent, painful reminder about fragile democracy and human rights. Democracy returned in 1983, a hard-won victory. Since then, Argentina has worked to heal, seek justice, and strengthen its democratic institutions. Today, Argentina carries a complex past while looking toward the future. Its people are known for passion, creativity, and endurance. Cultural life thrives: tango, asado, festivals, and everyday rituals. The land is full of natural beauty, rich resources, and a highly educated people. Argentina has contributed to science, arts, and literature worldwide. Challenges remain. Economic and social problems persist. But a clear sense of hope fills the Argentine spirit. Hope that past lessons can guide toward stability. Belief in the power of its people to overcome hardships, to innovate, and to build a fairer society. The story is still being written in busy city streets and across magnificent landscapes. The land once named for silver now seeks a different treasure: lasting stability, shared good times, and enduring peace.